Married at First Sight, season 18, Where Are They Now? Episode 6437. Ciao, we finally made it to the end. So here's the thing. Where Are They Now was taped only about 2 weeks after the reunion special. So we got a whole lot of talking, but not a whole lot of learning. Hi, I'm Tamara, and this is Tamara Lynette Tells. As expected, the cast was bebopping all over town in mixed groups to discuss their lives. Now, I'm not going to repeat the things we've heard them say at the reunion or decision day. We'll just talk about new information. But I will tell you what's going on with Madison's mom speaking out against her. I debated whether or not I should even mention her mom because I'm not convinced she's okay. But we'll get into that. So let's get into it. Emem and Brandon. So Emem spent this episode a ride or dying for her man, Brandon. Now, I'm not going to lie. It feels like they are both love bombing each other. Now, I'm not trying to hate. I hope it's real. I hope it lasts. And most importantly, I hope it's healthy. They talked about babies. They're trying to get pregnant again. Now, since Brandon is divorced and Emem isn't, they're planning a commitment ceremony. Pastor Cal's going to officiate after what was supposed to be marriage counseling, but ended up feeling like a cross-examination. Pastor Cal asking 27 questions for every one piece of advice he gave. So he told Emem that she was glowing, and she's like, yeah, I'm glowing. And he's like, you're not glowing in a certain type of way. Meaning, girl, are you pregnant? Emem said, no. And Mr. I'll take overshare for 300 said, we are practicing though. Talk about kiss and telling. He overshared at the reunion too. I don't understand why he feels the need to let the world know he's diving into Emem's sugar bowl. Okay, that's what grown folks do. We get it. So Pastor Cal asked Emem, how do you know this isn't love bombing? Okay. Now, the fact that he even asked that question to me means he can probably feel the love bombness of it all, especially sitting across from them in person. So Emem says she knows it's not love bombing because Brandon is a man of his word and consistent. Now, aren't those also traits that could be attached to a love bomber, though? Especially one who's retired and has nothing else to do but be consistent. Anyway, I'm not diving too deep into Brandon's backstory because he's not technically a cast member and he's giving 5 minutes of fame. But both he and Emem shared that their fathers have passed away. So Brandon said his dad wasn't around much growing up, but he called his firehouse after finding out Brandon became a firefighter. So they reconnected and were working on building a relationship. And a year later, his cousin called him and said his dad had taken his own life. So Brandon teared up while telling the story, and Pastor Cal asked if he'd receive any counseling after this, and he claims he did. So after the interrogation was over, Pastor Cal told Brandon he feels more comfortable with him, and he was kind of doubting him because he has such big energy, and basically he was coming in hot. But now he can see why Emem likes him. Really? I don't see it. I wish Pastor Cal would have elaborated and told us what he saw. We didn't get to learn much about Brandon's personality. So tell us what you see, Pastor Cal. Now, y'all know I don't usually ask you to subscribe, but here's the thing. There's going to be a little break between seasons. I'll still be posting here and there, but when the new season kicks off, YouTube's algorithm might play games and not show you my videos if you're not subscribed. So if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button so you don't lose me in the algorithm abyss. And if you have already subscribed, thank you. And I also want to thank all of you who are in the comments. If you haven't played in the comment sections of my videos, that's where the real party is. Y'all are funny and insightful. I read all the comments, but I'm sometimes bad at clicking the acknowledgement that I read your comment. Sorry about that, but I hear you. Now back to your regular program. Madison and David. So they were in their apartment together and David was cooking. They were talking about seeing Nancy Drew, aka Michelle, at Emem and Brandon's commitment ceremony. And Madison asked David if he was nervous about seeing Nancy. He said no. Then the smoke alarm went off like it was a lie detector. I mean, the timing was perfect. So after shooing the smoke away with a pillow, Madison eventually said that she was indifferent about seeing Nancy. To me, it feels like production told them to have this conversation because it's been over a year since decision day. I doubt these two are still sitting around talking about this girl. They are not checking for Nancy. So get this. Madison claims her dad doesn't know she and David live together. Girl, stop. Her dad supports this relationship. She got married at first sight and he wasn't tripping. Her being allegedly nervous to tell him that she's living with David feels like a big old juicy lie. Add that to the other ones they've been telling. So Madison said she might not want to stay in Chicago, and David said he don't care where they live as long as there's a basement. I'm just kidding. He said he's down for wherever. So Madison told David, watching the season back, I didn't realize how badly Nancy treated you. She said David told her, but he didn't share just how bad it was. Then she praised his strength for making it through. So wait a minute. I thought she was going to say she didn't realize how badly she treated Alan. I guess I'll just be waiting on that epiphany indefinitely. Alan, he met up with his friends. The new takeaway from this conversation, everyone pretty much agrees David and Madison's fling started 1 week of living in the shared apartments. Man, I wonder if the first night in the apartment when Madison left Alan there alone, where he ended up meeting the old ladies at the pool, if she was hanging out with David. In any case, I think it's pretty safe to assume that he and Nancy have compared notes and possibly consulted with a few producers as well. In the meantime and in between time, Madison's mom has a lot to say about this and her daughter Madison. Now, if you recall, Madison alluded to her mom having issues when she was growing up. The way she talked about her, it kind of felt like she had some type of substance abuse problem and her mom would be really mean to her. Well, someone who claims to be her mama was not very happy and was not very nice and let her feelings be known on both Reddit and Instagram. Now, the Insta profile looks like a legit profile for her mom, and the Reddit post is in alignment with what she was saying on Instagram. I believe this really is her mom. But like I mentioned earlier, I was on the fence about sharing this because this feels like family laundry that should be discussed between the two of them, not on social media. It doesn't appear as though they have a relationship, so her mom took it to the streets. And y'all know I be up in them married at first sight streets. So here we go. On Reddit, she commented on a post where the Redditor was pointing out how Madison and David blamed Nancy Drew for their affair. This is what Madison's mom had to say about that. I think it was very deceitful, and I didn't have a good feeling about the entire show, why she lied the entire show and got away with it. She invited me out to the wedding as I am Madison's mother, but I too was deceived. I was told before the show aired that Madison had said very disparaging things about me on the show, but I had no idea she was going to throw me under the bus and basically tell the entire world that she grew up without a mother. Every episode I would watch while cringing to her horrible words, then left crying all night. We aren't even talking at all. Why did she do this to me? I'm running into people who watch the show and they are shocked as to what she did to her own flesh and blood. My friends are furious. I'm just depressed and very sad. This show didn't tell me how badly she had portrayed me when they asked me to sign their waiver. I never should have signed it. I am devastated. It's destroyed my family. It makes me sick to my stomach. They are still together right now, and I am told, but with David growing up with all females and is a family guy, why doesn't he ask her to speak to her mother? Why did she even want me to be at that fake wedding? They knew she lied about a lot. Why did they show family pictures of me and my kids while on vacation as she was telling sob stories to Alan about how horrible her life was? Stupid. I actually was told that I was even dead. Nice. She doesn't even care or give a shiz. I won an award for being a volunteer mom at her school, spent all my cash on my kids, loved my kids. I made her and I am torn up. This sucks. I don't know what she meant when she said she was told she was dead. Was that before or after she was invited to the wedding? I don't know. This is messy, but it gets messier. Nancy Drew posted a picture on her Instagram. This one isn't it. I couldn't find it again. Maybe she took it down. Anyway, she captioned it, "It's so stressful, yet so fun." And Madison's mom hopped in the comments and wrote, "I can't even imagine. Yeah, you were the only one that got slaughtered by Madison's actions. I am her real mother, and her and I aren't talking right now. She invited me out to her wedding and then proceeded to talk harshly about me to create more drama in her past life, as stating several times that I wasn't there for her at all while growing up. Guess she forgot about me as the driver to school every day, attending her sports games, teachers' conferences, etc. Bet her past boyfriend's parents aren't happy either after she told the world what horrible men they were. You just got caught in the crossfire of Madison's continual lying, and I'm sorry for that. I am sure you will move on to a better person from this experience. Frankly, I'm glad it's over, as my friends have watched it and appalled at my daughter's behavior. So sad." So let me ask you this. For all you parents out there, when one of your kids got caught in a lie or hurt your feelings, how quickly did you jump on Reddit and Instagram to air your dirty draws? I'll wait. I don't think this is a common behavior for a mom who was voted volunteer of the year or whatever they called it. I'm not feeling this. If anything, after reading her mom's rants, I'm looking at Madison like, "Girl, are you okay?" Because this was not okay. And that's all I have to say about that. Karla and Michelle. So they met up at Karla's new apartment and drank red wine on her white couch. I'm scared of them. So Karla and her cute, funky sweater, we're talking about where she is mentally now. Things have been like flowing, and I'm like super excited that I just like chilled out, like processed the whole experience and that roller coaster of emotions that went on. So Carla asked Nancy if she could have done anything differently, what would it be? And Nancy said, watching it back, the way she behaved in the beginning, she was an absolute biscotti. And she didn't say biscotti. So Carla said, "That's okay. You were having a brat girl summer." No, she was having a rude girl summer. Nancy said she just loves it when people slide in her DMs and say, "You need to change how you act." And she's like, "I know, I know." So I think Nancy really learned a lot about herself by watching the show. And I hope for her sake, she made some positive changes that will actually stick. So Nancy asked Carla if she could date a man who is as much as a free spirit as she is. Carla said, "Oh my God, I went on a date and he was so free spirited." And I was like, "But what's your plan? How are we both going to survive out here if we both are in the clouds?" I was like, "Sir," I was like, "Oh, hell no. Where's Juan?" Michelle's like, "Oh, you've turned into one. Now I can appreciate because two free birds can't survive out here in these streets, girl. Somebody needs a plan and hold it down, and it ain't gonna be me." I love me some Carla. Each episode, she was more and more fun to watch. Camille and Thomas, they went to lunch at Thomas's brother's house and they said they want to start having babies after Camille gets her career track on and popping. Now it sounds like Thomas is having some doubts because after lunch, Thomas was talking to his brother outside and said he's waiting for them to get to the passionate love phase. And the brother was like, "You ain't getting any?" And Thomas is like, "Yes, but I mean passion like I can't live without you vibes." And the brother's like, "You think she's the one?" And Thomas is like, "I'm working on that." If I was Camille, I'd be very worried. I wonder if this is how he felt when he was in that 9-year relationship. I hope not. Maybe Camille feels the same way. Maybe this is fake drama for the show. I hope it's not real. It would really be nice to see another successful couple emerge from this show. Chi-Chi. Since he has no friends, producers had to get creative. He had a virtual call with his brother and he talked about how he and the other husbands are still cool. He invited them to an art show and most of them showed up. Mass fam shared this photo. I believe it's from that art show. So he said he doesn't know the cast well because he wasn't trying to be in their marriages and didn't want them in his. And that's exactly how you missed out on the perfect opportunity to make some friends, sir. by being weird. So since he didn't have any friends to visit, they had him go to a lawyer. And the lawyer asked him if the MM might contest the divorce. And he was making it seem like there was a possibility MM could push back on the divorce. Child, if MM could have divorced you the day she met Brandon, you would have been kicked to the streets. If your stupid one-page divorce memo or whatever you want to call it was legit, she would have hopped in her car, waited in line, and handed it to the judge herself. I don't know where all this doubt of her possibly wanting to stay married to Chi was coming from. Like, dude, get over yourself. Then he stated that he doesn't want anything from MM, as if he's entitled to spousal support or something. Chi, stop being so dramatic. You signed a prenup. So later he was driving around in his car, talking to his mama, asking for advice about divorce, as if he's heartbroken a year later from a woman he can't stand. He also mentioned that he hung out with the guys and it was an uplifting experience. And it turns out they don't dislike him. Probably not used to being liked, are ya? Karla, her sister, and Juancho. So they met up with Juancho to talk about the business they are opening together called Juancho's Ponchos. Has a nice little ring to it. So they're going to sell ponchos, and then eventually they will progress to ponchos that turn into bags. I can't tell you how many times I said if only my poncho could turn into a bag, it would be on and popping. Good for them. So Juancho talked about his girlfriend. When he said she does eyelashes, Karla rolled her eyes in the back of her head. To the confessional cam, she said, "Clearly, Juancho is open to a laid-back lifestyle since he's dating somebody in the beauty industry. And he mentioned something about tarot cards the other day. As we've learned recently, Juancho has a whole list of reasons he wasn't into Karla, and his big secret might be a reason why she wasn't into Juancho. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my video that has Karla and Juancho on the cover. Camille and Thomas game night. So they had David and Madison over. They played faux head charades or whatever you call it. And to the confessional cam, Thomas said that he loves Camille, but he just wants to make sure they're on the same page when it comes to family and their future, so he knows that this is sustainable. So there he goes again. Between the two of them, he seems to be the only one expressing doubt. I really hope they're okay. The men. They got together at Juancho's house, and Chi talked about being a private person, which is completely fine, except for one thing. You're on TV. Allen pointed out how Chi just shut down during the season. Chi was not a good fit for the show, and I don't know why he thought he would be, and to the extent of applying to be on it 2 times. So Thomas asked Allen how he's doing with David. Like, is there a relationship between them? He said not really, but he's glad David and Madison are still together because it would have been worse if it was just a fling. He said Madison handled everything well except for effing around on him since the second week. I think he was being facetious. So Allen was in a hurry and had to bounce to meet up with his girlfriend, Valerie, who he's no longer with, by the way. He didn't even sit down. He took off before David arrived. Coincidence? Maybe. Meanwhile, the topic of the commitment ceremony between Emem and Brandon came up. Felt like they were kind of making fun of it. So Chi claims he didn't know about it and, of course, will not be in attendance. He said, on another note, I spoke to a divorce attorney, then told part of that story. He's too closed off to relay the whole story. So Juancho said that he hopes that Brandon is in it for the right reasons. And when the camera shuts off, he's still there. He said Emem really wants to be married and in a committed relationship, and she deserves to be happy. Seems like everyone who's met Brandon isn't convinced he's in it for the right reasons. The wives, they met up to make candles, and afterwards, Karla gave the ladies a sound bath, and they seemed to be into it and very relaxed. So afterwards, Karla asked them what is something they want to release, and I thought it was interesting that Madison said resentment. So to the confessional cam, she said she's working on having more empathy towards Nancy. She understands they're not going to be friends and can't tell her how to think, but she hopes that she heals herself. I find it hard to believe that she can't relate to Nancy given how she treated Allen. Does she see that she needs to heal herself? The level she took her lying and deception is not okay. Madison, David, and family. So they all met up to play pool. Then Madison allegedly told her dad for the very first time that she and David are living together. The dad told them congratulations, and to the confessional cam, he claims he was shocked, but the heart wants what it wants, and he's happy for them. So I'm not buying this story, but I guess producers had to come up with something for them to talk about, and this is the best they could come up with, that Madison has been afraid to tell her super supportive father she and David have been living together. So David talked to Madison's father off to the side, and David let him know marriage is down the line and that he would be asking him for his blessing eventually. Even though they weren't matched, watch, these two will probably end up staying together for the long haul. They seem super happy, and I hope they get what they want. Did that sound convincing? I'm trying to be nice here. So, commitment ceremony. All the cast except for Chi-Chi got together for the ceremony between Emem and Brandon. Pastor Cal was the officiant. I was trying to figure out what type of room they were having it in. It looks like a sound stage or a converted garage with shower curtains covering the walls or something. So Emem and Brandon did their thing for the cameras. Hooray. After the ceremony, Nancy pulled David aside. Now, Madison was looking worried. I don't know what she thought was going to happen, but she didn't look as tough as she was pretending to be when she was talking about put me in the ring with her. She won't last 2 seconds. So Nancy told David she knew she was being a brat during the season, but after watching it back, she didn't realize how rude she was being, and he didn't deserve that. And she apologized, and he accepted her apology. They both wished each other well. So I'm glad we got to see that on camera. I don't believe David has any hard feelings because he got who he wanted. So in the end, Allen said to the confessional cam that he's more aware now. There's a time and place for certain outfits and certain jokes, but he's happy he stayed true to himself and stuck to his morals and his broccoli underwear, I guess. So Nancy said that there's more to her than the stress and being stuck in her ways that we saw. She feels like she came out of this a much better person. I will give her this. At least she has friends. It sounds like she learned from her mistakes, and I would be more concerned if she justified her behavior. Whew. So overall, I think the season was okay. The show has gotten away from telling stories of couples trying to build a relationship to a group of people growing friendships, alliances, and situationships. Next season, they are going to do something a little bit different by adding an older couple. Now, they're either in their late 50s or early 60s, not completely sure of their ages, but good. They can show how older couples are just as messy as younger ones. I'm intrigued though. I'll introduce the new cast in another video. There's still no word on when the new season will premiere, just that it will be on Peacock. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for season 18 of Married at First Sight. I'm not going anywhere. Keep tuning in. I've got some ideas up my sleeve, but that's all I have for now. So I'll see you in my next video.